Welcome, you guys. Thank you for joining Real and Raw with Elle. So today I'm here with Nicole. Nicole, say hi to the audience.
Hello.
Today we're gonna discuss life as we know it.
Living a life on purpose.
Amen. Amen. So I'm gonna start off with Nicole. So tell me a little bit, since my audience don't know who you are. Mm-hmm. Just tell me a little bit about your background.
Born and raised in Decatur, Georgia.
Oh, okay.
Yay, we're from Decatur. Columbia High School.
Oh, okay.
Graduated Columbia, went to Morris Brown College. I majored in business administration. I currently work for CDC for the last 11 years in human resources.
Oh, awesome.
I have two businesses. One is career services, providing career consultation for those trying to find jobs, teaching people, the niche of getting into a career field. Okay. And a little real estate.
Oh, okay. Awesome. So you're busy.
And I am a mother of two beautiful boys.
Oh, wow.
Jaden and Jackson, yeah.
Okay. All right, awesome. So for you guys who don't know a lot about me, I'm originally from Virginia, small town in Virginia. I grew up with a wonderful family that I love dearly. I wasn't raised by my mother, unfortunately, but we do currently have a great relationship now, right? But my younger years were pretty rough. Not saying from the family standpoint for so much as what I kind of put my own self through for the mistakes that I made. Getting pregnant at 15, having my first child at 16. By the age of 22, I had a second child, no husband, so I prayed daily. Lord, if you could just send me somebody that can help me raise these children, I would be so honored, So that's kind of how my life started out. So when I think about now, who I am, what I've accomplished, when people talk to me, they be like, oh, so do you have a degree? Yeah, I have 4 degrees. Now, who can say that? Someone that had a child at the age of 16.
Not very many.
Exactly. So I've worked very hard to get to where I am, and I'm just so thankful and so blessed.
Indeed you are.
Yeah.
So somewhat similar. I was adopted at birth. My biological family actually was also in Atlanta, and there was a divorce in place. So my parents at the time were divorced, and I believe it's one of those situations where you kind of go back and kind of check out, get back together, with the ex, but not really getting back together. So in that process, I was conceived along with a twin. I have a twin.
So you have a twin?
I have a twin brother.
Oh, awesome.
I do. I have a twin brother. And at being adopted at birth, I was born 4 months early. And after my adoptive mom passed away, it just really encouraged me to try to figure out where I came from. I just wanted to know.
Right.
I was informed at the age of 13 that I was adopted. And so, but it really never made a difference until I found the history, behind it all. So my biological mother actually passed of alcohol poisoning.
Oh, wow.
So there was, alcohol abuse, and actually throughout the entire family. Being adopted out of that into a family of pastors and preachers and prophets, it has really been a blessing. There are relatives that, have another set of brothers that we have the same father and not the same mother. Okay. And you could clearly tell the difference.
Do you feel like when you met them that you could relate better with them?
No.
No?
The lifestyle that they lived and were brought up in are one that I was raised to, go beyond, if you will. Not to say from a economic standpoint but just from a foundational moral place. You know, I was not around drinking and smoking, and I didn't know about that life. You know, it was pretty much church and, you know, in school and home. I had a 2-parent household. My parents were married for 30 years. My grandparents were married for 60. So I saw structure and a very strong foundation versus if I have grown up in that environment, I would probably be totally different than what I am today.
Right. And I kind of feel the same way, because when I look back at, actually when I first, because my mother, she lives in New York, and when I first moved to New York and I was able to be around my biological sisters, I'm like, and I had longed for that. Like, I felt like I was different from everybody else that I was raised with, but I got a lot of love in that house. But when I moved to New York and I met them, and I'm like, okay, I really thought I was missing something, but I really wasn't.
No.
I really wasn't at all. You know, because I got so much love. You know, and nobody in that small town knew that I didn't belong to that family.
Same here.
Nobody knew. Everybody's like, oh, it's your sister and brother. And when they would introduce me, oh, this is my baby sister. This is my baby sister. You know, to this day, my sister still say that. This is my baby sister, you know, considering my age. But yeah, I got so much love. But then when I moved to New York and I was around my biological family, then I felt like I didn't belong. Which all along I felt like I was, like the times that I felt like I was going through depression, I felt like that's why I was going through the depression, because I wanted to be around them I felt like I needed to be around people that were like me, and I felt like they were like me. But then after I got with them, I was like, well, they're not like me. I'm different.
You're right.
And it's just so strange. You know, it's just so strange. And trying to develop a relationship with my sisters now, it's been a little rocky. You know, but we're pushing through. We're beginning to spend more time together now, and really, I felt like she really didn't know me, so we were kind of having some issues, but now we're pushing through, and it's a little better now.
And I think you and I think we are both share the thought of, we're not trying to display ourselves as better than.
Oh, absolutely not.
But it may come across that way because of the different environments, other things, if you will, that we were exposed to differently than them. So, you know, I grew up in a family of home ownership and, you know, nice cars, you know, working hard, retirements, 401k, that is what was instilled in me. And my brothers, on the other hand, they don't know about that. It's not about, you know, life is not about owning a house or, you know, it's get it how you can. By any means necessary. And so with that mindset and in getting to know one another, even though they know that I'm down to earth, there's still a side of them is like, well,
she thinks
who does she? Exactly. You know, just the comments, you know. And then I sort of feel in a recent comment that was made to me by one of them, I sort of feel that they wish that it was reversed. That they grew up how I grew up, because I can't relate to them. But they could only wish for that things have happened differently
for them. Wow, that's interesting. Because my mother, when I talk to her now, my mother and my father that raised me, they have since passed. So now I have a really good relationship with my mother now, and she tells me all the time. I'm like, I don't get like some of the feelings I get from some of the people in the family, especially her side of the family, right? And she said they're just jealous, but I'm like, but why? But why? I had 2 kids at the age of 22. I worked very hard. They could have did the same thing. So it's just no reason to be jealous. Just work just as hard as I did. You can have the same thing or more.
And sometimes we have to understand that people don't think like we do. For us, it's as simple as we work hard
Mm-hmm.
to get what we want.
Right.
You know, if you're in a dilemma, you figure out the problem, you
Right.
find a solution.
It's a solution
You know,
to every
and
problem.
we think it's, for us, it's that simple. But for others, it's like, well, why can't I do it? Well, you know, or they have this perception that we want the silver spoon in our mouth. It was just made easy. No, it wasn't. We
It wasn't
just,
easy.
you know, persevered
Mm-hmm.
and took it a step, you know, further
Right.
in creating the life that we wanted. Because after 18, my parents are no longer responsible for me.
Right, exactly.
Same thing for you.
Exactly.
So they have had to lay that foundation and in trust that we were either going to go continue on the right direction or go the opposite. So the ball was in our court.
Mm-hmm.
As of now, you know,
Right,
it's
right.
just for a while now.
Right,
You know, so we shaped and mold along with the help of the Lord.
right.
That we shaped and mold where we are today.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah, I just remember being at the age of 16, I used to always say to myself, okay, this is not how I want to live.
Mm-hmm.
This is not how I want to be.
Mm-hmm.
I want better for my children.
That's right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And I knew they needed a great father.
Mm-hmm.
I knew they needed one. I knew I had a great father, right?
Right.
I knew I had him, so I just prayed for someone to come and just be a great father to my two kids.
Mm-hmm.
And God blessed me with that. He blessed me with that. Their father, it just makes me want to cry to think about like the things that he's done for my children.
Wow.
The things he's done for them and how the relationship they have right now, which is great.
Wow.
It's great. You know, I called my daughter every year, I'm over Daddy's house. I'm like, you gonna see him or you gonna see me?
right.
But yeah, they're very close. They're very close, and I'm so thankful for that.
Right.
So thankful.
And then you too had a role in that, because never a time did you speak doubt or, you know, not encourage or not be positive in that it wasn't one day going to be different.
Right.
And as children, you know, I have two boys growing up. So I have to, you know, encourage them that there's a difference, baby, between today and tomorrow. This minute or the, you know, or the next. You know, and whatever prayer that we're praying and hoping to God for, in a blink of an eye, God is able to do it.
Right.
So you weren't that bitter, this is my life and I've struggled all my life. You know, you didn't instill that in them.
Nope.
So when the time came for him to bless you with that, it was a no-brainer. The atmosphere was already.
Yep.
laid.
It was just so easy, and you know, and I tell like women that are single, I say relationships should not be hard. Like, cause I think about when him and I first got together, everything was just so easy. But I know that was because God had laid it all out. But everything was just so easy. We didn't have any issues, no problems. It was just like we got together. A year later, we was married. I mean, really, it was just that easy. And I know that all came from prayer. I know that's where it came from. Because it was really easy.
Wow.
So when people tell me, people that are single tell me, oh, I'm going through this with my boyfriend and this and that, and I'm like,
it ain't it.
You shouldn't be going through all of that.
Yeah.
That's not it. You're going to have to make some
And then,
changes.
you know, both you and him were dating with a purpose. You know, you knew, both of you all were at the point of life that said, okay, you know what, I want a family, I want a wife, I want a husband. Not many have that mentality. They want the title, but they don't want the responsibility.
Oh, yeah.
So, perfect example of God bringing two people together who were on the same page.
Yep.
And
always
you're
say
right.
equally yoked.
That's right.
Gotta be equally yoked. You gotta be.
That's right.
Because if not, it's not gonna work out.
That's right.
Yeah. So, tell me about your dating experience now.
Dating.
Because now you're single.
Yes, I am.
So how has that been working out for you?
Dating, you know, in today's society has been very challenging. And for me, I say challenging because I grew up very traditional. So where you have, you know, the man is the head of the house, you know, he works, you know, the wife is, you know, can or cannot, you know, be home, but understanding the place of the wife. And that is what I would say traditional. Dating with a purpose. I date with a purpose, the intent of marriage. And I go over my non-negotiables, and getting to know someone,
right.
you're always open-minded. You don't
right.
want to go in and say, I don't take this. No, right. You want to get to know a person and know right. where they are.
Okay.
The biggest challenge for me is because I am a single mother of boys, I don't per se stop it at what I feel would be a great fit for me.
Okay.
They have to be a great fit for my boys as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because this is a package deal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if you are one who don't want no kids, never had kids, then I'm not going to be for you.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I want a very family oriented. Well, first let's say man of God. Mm-hmm. Man of God doesn't it now. All the men in my family are pastors. So off the top, that could be a little bit intimidating for those who, that you're dating, like your daddy or what?
Right.
Yeah, well, yeah, my dad is a pastor, granddad, uncle, all of them, yeah. And so that kind of puts, but then that's up to me to try to say, no, I don't think everybody's called to be, a pastor, but I do expect that relationship with God to be there.
Right.
Because if you don't have a relationship with him, there's going to be no way that you're going to understand who I'm supposed to be in your life. Mm-hmm. So that has been how dating has been going.
So how do you think you can overcome the challenges you've been having with dating?
Being in more prayer and being more selective about who to go out on a date with. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of times conversation over the phone can kind of weed out whether we or not we going on a date or not.
Right. Exactly.
What your foundation is, what your beliefs are. Mm-hmm. I shouldn't have to wait till we break bread to try to find out that, mm-hmm. you don't want children or you don't like children, for example, or, you're not a Christian. Or, you don't have any religious beliefs or, things like that. Mm-hmm. Those conversations shouldn't take place initially at the dinner table.
Right. Do you find that you find maybe better quality of men in church?
No. Absolutely not.
So tell me why.
Well, for one, they use the word of God against you. Like, okay, so you've been raised in church and, a man that findeth a wife finds a good thing and, and so it's almost like a role of audition instead of a role or purpose. Okay. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's more, well, the virtuous woman does this and she doesn't do this. Well, I am only supposed to be a wife to whom God has called me to be a wife to. Right. Not just some random man out here, Right. And so that is also a challenge, understanding as a woman who I am, and what my non-negotiables are, what my belief system, is, and how I plan, and understanding that I don't need a man to complete me. Right. It's a partnership, and it's in addition to, and this is how we grow together, So exactly. It's not, oh, you're over me and I'm, beneath you, things like that. And just making sure we're on the same page.
So what was the longest relationship you've had that was successful?
Successful as in marriage?
Mm-hmm.
5 years.
Okay. And how do you feel, what do you feel like that happened?
We were both very young.
Okay.
We were both young and we had not lived life. We were both on the same page as far as family oriented, full of love. We both had parents in the household. But nobody, I think, taught either one of us about how to work through things.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's like there is a problem. You can talk about it, not talk about it, but we just gonna keep, moving forward. And unfortunately for me in the situation, I had the greatest loss of my life, and that was the death of my mom. And so in that, I lost all sight of everything. I lost sight of me. I lost sight of who I was, what the world was going to become. When you're dealing with severe clinical depression, right. When you're, at 27, I felt like hard. I was in my prime. And so where even as a young wife, I could still pick up that phone and go, Mom, hey, this is what I'm going through. So that was my anchor.
Right.
And so for a long time, because that was my anchor, everything that I went through, I felt when she left, there go my sail. There go my ship. It's gone. So I was cutting off and running away from everything because I was just trying to figure everything out.
Right.
And so based off what I know now and what I've experienced now, the things that the Lord has brought me through now, the 38 Nicole can tell the 27-year-old Nicole to go about things a little bit differently.
Yeah.
You know, because I was the one to leave. You know, just run away, you know. And so that has been something that internally that I've had to use, not as a victim, you know, or woe is me, but something to just build my foundation to make my future relationships stronger.
How do you feel like you were able to bring yourself through that?
Prayer.
Yeah.
It took a lot of prayer. Actually, at the time of my mother's death, I was pregnant with my first child.
Oh.
And so I actually had a choice at that time to attend my mother's funeral or to not, and let my baby live because his heart rate was dropping every time, you know. So knowing that my mother passed away and then not being able to have that closure.
Right.
See, for me, it was, you know, it was that closure. Like, he was able to say goodbye to her because they had a wonderful relationship, you know, and having that and just beating myself up on the inside, you know, we self-sabotage a lot of things, you know. So, you know, not only, you know, was it my marriage, but it was probably some friendships, you know, some other relationships that I just checked out of because I just mentally, you know, was not there, and there was just nobody that I felt, you know, could help me at that particular time. So I think maybe, I want to say about 2 years, just trying to work through 2 years after my mother's death, trying to get through that. Did the divorce happen, you know? So you're talking about, again, a single mom, one child, you just don't ran out here and don't have no place to go, you know. It just, it didn't make any sense, you know, at all, but I tried to make, you know, sense of it then. Yeah, because it, you know, it was trauma after trauma. You know, I think both of us had lost a grandparent, and you know, my mom died. We had lost 2 children together, so it was just like, I want to run away from all of this. And until I dealt with my own internal issues and dealt with the hurt, the pain, and the closure of it all, did I grow from it.
How long did it take you to, I guess, to be able to sit down and realize, okay, I just went through all of this because of?
Probably about 5 years.
Oh, wow.
A good solid 5 years, to where I had to just say, Nicole, every single failure that you've had up until this time, because you're constantly running from something.
Yeah.
And you cannot run from yourself. You can't run from God. And until you learn whatever it is that the Lord wants you to learn, you're going to keep repeating that cycle over and over and over again. And so at that breaking point, should I say, I just said that I can't do it anymore. I had done severed every relationship that was vital to me. My marriage, my relationship with my father, my sibling. You know, just everything around me was just shattering. Quitting jobs. I mean, you know, just because I was just not right and just trying to get everything together. So it took me about 5 years. I do encourage counseling. I was seeing a psychologist. I sat on the couch.
Been there.
I sat on the couch. I cried. I asked myself the question. And the thing is, people confuse, even in singlehood, people confuse just being able to function is you're doing well. There's something called functioning dysfunctionally. You can function all day. Did you walk from your room to refrigerator? Absolutely. But how did you walk to?
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying? So I had to realize that a lot of things that were going on in my life, I was functioning, but I was functioning dysfunctionally. I was no good to anybody. On the outside I was, but internally I was a mess.
Like
I was a mess. Yeah. And so over the last 15 years, really over the last 11 years, could I just dig deep down inside and say, you know what, I'm healed. I can totally talk about these things and understand where I went wrong, what I did, face it head on, and move on. And that's it. And the forgiveness of yourself, even in dating, has a lot to do with it, because you don't carry the bitterness of, you know, well, this is what happened to me, and I'm just gonna do this and do that. You don't carry that.
Right.
And so when you're dating, you're many different people. It's very easy for others to pick up on that. Right. You know, you shouldn't talk to me and be able to tell what happened to me back when I was married, to him, because you don't have anything to do with that.
Exactly.
And it's not just that person's fault. What role did I play in a relationship? That is the way you can go about building a healthy relationship in the next, when you understand what you did.
Right.
Because I can't control anybody else.
Yeah, I know sometimes we don't take accountability for ourselves and our actions and what we do. You know, because I remember when my first divorce, right? I was so angry, and I was so angry, and I was like you. I was taking it out on everybody. You know, at work they were afraid of me. And when I think back now, I'm like, oh my God, I was so mean. And why was I so mean? I think I was just so hurt inside, because I remember telling myself, you know, when I get married the first time, that's it. That's gonna be the only person that I be with. And then the fact that, you know, I had prayed so much for him, and then it failed, I just felt like a failure. I felt like a failure, and I constantly beat myself up for that. You know, and I constantly didn't want to get close to people. And I was just an angry person. And then I went through the depression again. You know, it just kept coming back, you know. And as far as your mom, like, I can relate to your mom, because when my mom died, every Mother's Day, like 2 weeks before Mother's Day, every single year, I would be depressed.
Yep, me too.
And I'm like, and I couldn't figure out for years, like, why do I get so sad at this time of the year? Because I think I had just put Mother's Day out of my mind. Like, literally out of my mind. And I think, like, probably 6-7 years later, one day I looked at the calendar right around Mother's Day, and I said, oh my God, it's Mother's Day.
And you're not.
That's why I have been so depressed all these years around Mother's Day. And it's like at that moment I realized that's what my issue was. That was one of my issues, right? And then I was able to get better.
Right.
But all of it was self-discovery. Because I wasn't going to no doctor. I didn't believe in no psychiatrist, no psychologist telling me nothing. I felt like I just needed to pray and everything would be all right. You know, until years later, then I said, okay, I really need to go talk to somebody, because this is happening too often.
And I believe we can kind of delay our own blessings sometimes, because we are not willing to put in the work that we need to do. So, you know, right now, the place I am in my life, if God sent them today, hello, I'm ready. You know, I'm like, and I believe so much in God that I'm like, hey, you can do it. You know, I've done this work. You showed me what I needed to do. I walked it out. I've been tested and tried, and you know, I'm good now. You know, so you know you.
And I can see it all over you.
Yeah.
Like, you have a brightness. It just shines right through. I mean, I can just see it and I can feel it.
Thank you.
Because when you walk to the door, I was like, ooh, she's so bright. Like, not your dress. It's just, I could just feel it, and I can see it, and I can feel your energy. Yeah. Which that's amazing to have. Yeah,
and you know, even earlier today, the word that I spoke on today was perseverance. And so it's not taking what the depression, the financial problems, the past, is all that stuff, and just, you got to move all that to the side, you know, and really focus on the things that God has called you to be. You know, I wish that you shall prosper. You shall be, you know, in good health. And so when I realized who I was in God, and I'm not looking for anybody to define me, then I said to myself, now you're ready for a husband.
Right.
Because before, I'm like, well, if he got a good job and he got a nice car, then that's going to make me look good, and we're going to have this, and we're going to have that. No, but Nicole, who are you without all of that?
Right.
So I can stand stronger on what I accept and what I don't accept when you know who you are.
Right.
You can have a bank full of money and be fine as Boris Kojal, and I can look at you and say goodbye because you're not lining up.
Exactly. Has to align. Has to align. Well, thank you, Nicole, so much for
You're
sharing.
welcome.
Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it.